Welcome, football fans and USFL fans, to episode 4 of the USFL Authority, the show for all USFL news and hottest topics and discussion on it. I'm Ace, and joining me always is Webb. You can find us at our socials, which are on the bottom of the screen, and also on all USFL Network platforms, including our now USFL Network-centric YouTube, where all videos will be posted, and our website, where you can also find the videos and articles and pages for all of the teams that you know and love in this league. All right. So, Webb, what are we starting with today?
We're starting with the power rankings. So we invited a bunch of other contributors, the newsroom, a bunch of different outlets.
Here, let's pull them up.
An ultimate power rankings
Going
into camp. And these are our final results. The Stallions, then Stars, Maulers at 3, Breakers at 4, Generals at 5, Boats at 6, Gamblers and Panthers battling it out for 7th and 8th.
So all right. Sorry, you're going to explain it.
So yeah, a team that gets a first place vote gets 1 point. So you want the least amount of points. A team that gets the 8th place vote, exactly, gets 8 points. So as you can see, the Stallions got the least amount of points, so they're ranked number 1. All right. So our discussion.
All right. So we are going to talk about the power rankings, who's too high and who's too low. So just remind everybody, Stallions, Stars, Maulers, Breakers, Generals, Showboats, Gamblers, Panthers. It's not that crazy from where the season ended last season. The rankings at the end, you have Stallions who won the championship, Stars who were in the championship. The shakeup is then where the Maulers come in, because the Maulers were last place. They got the second pick just because they lost the toilet bowl. They could have got the first pick because they were last place. So, Webb, who do you think is too high? Let's start with that.
Oh, I'm going to get killed. I'm going to get killed at home right here. The Pittsburgh Maulers are ranked too high.
Oh, I did not see that coming. Okay, why?
You got to prove it on the field. Yes, they signed the biggest free agent probably in the league history with Reuben Foster. Yes, they've added guys. They've filled all the holes. They got a bunch coming back. But the team only won 1 game last year.
Yeah.
They only beat the Houston Gamblers. I had to throw that in there. So I just feel like I ranked them in the middle of the pack. I think, yes, they're better than some of the other teams. They should be ranked a little bit higher, but I do not think they are the 3rd best team in the league right now. I could be completely wrong after week 1. I could probably rank them number 1 if they go out there and smash the Breakers week 1. I'm not saying they can't win the championship. I'm not saying they're not, but right now,
you don't think they should be?
You can't trust them yet.
I agree with that, and I kind of, I'm going to quote my brother a couple times on this. So my brother liked that the Panthers were last. He liked that because he said, "There's no pressure. There's only up, right? And it's cool." He said he didn't want to be like the Maulers because then if you are ranked 3rd, you could easily week 1 drop down the board, and that's just not a good feeling for a fan base, for you as their representative. So I get that, but for me, I'm going to go with the Stallions. The Stallions are too high, and I'm going to quote my brother again, Maverick. He said, "I will bet all of my money in Las Vegas that the Stallions do not repeat a championship." Now, that's not saying that they're going to drop down to 8 or even 7 or 6, but putting them right at 1, a lot of teams, like, while they lost players, they picked up players in free agency, and they picked up some really good talent. Reuben Foster, Robert Nicomdici with the Panthers, who I think is kind of number 2 right under Foster. He's also a first-round pick from the NFL who moved over to the USFL. I think it's really hard to repeat. Like, this isn't the NFL. This isn't Tom Brady and the Patriots. It's incredibly hard to repeat, especially in the spring league. I think they're too high. I understand why they're at number 1. I get it, but I don't think they should be number 1. Like, if anything, with Corey Coleman and Case Cookus and KJ Costello coming back, I think the Stars almost could be number 1, even though I don't think they added that much on defense. I think Case Cookus as a quarterback is just that good. He is possibly the best spring football quarterback. So Stallions are too high. But let's move on. Too low. Who is too low on your list?
I'm going to go with your Gamblers. I rank them middle of the pack. And I really feel like they're underrated. And it's not that they're seventh because someone has to be seventh. It's the fact that they are 10 points, right? 10 points away from the Showboats. When you have 15 ballots, that means they're consistently below the Showboats. And I just don't see them being below the Showboats. The rest of them, I can argue back and forth. And I think they should be at least 6. I know that's not like too low, but I just feel like even if they were in 7th by the final results, they should be closer to the Showboats and the Gamblers and the Breakers than what they turned out to be. Not battling for last place for Mavericks, Panthers, who he is going off the rails talking trash, by the way. Your brother.
Yes, he is coming full force, going for the throat.
Panther fans are just they're loving it. They're the hot ticket right now, right? And they're very brash right now.
I liked his one where coming at Stallions fans, because I'm waging war on the ponies just because it's fun. But we have home games this year. I thought that was cool. But I'm not going to go with my Gamblers. I don't want to be that much of a homer. I think the Panthers. I genuinely think they're too low. I think quarterback play really dominates. I think that's why the Gamblers are low on everybody's list. Everybody really underestimates our quarterback room. Personally, I don't believe it, but I understand it. I get it. They're unproven. I just interviewed Bob Morris, GM of the Gamblers, and he said it himself. They are unproved. Kenji a little bit. Kenji came in. He looked good. He's the only quarterback to beat the Stallions, but we're unproven. The Panthers have Josh Love, and I think that when it comes to quarterback play, like I said earlier, Josh Love is going to come in. He's going to throw good balls. He's basically become best friends with their offensive coordinator. He's probably been putting in the most work USFL centric in the offseason as far as quarterbacks go. To have someone that's that close with the offensive coordinator who's throwing with receivers on his team in the offseason, I think they're going to come out and surprise people. Do I think that they're going to win the championship? No, but I don't think they're going to be last place. So that's why I think they're too low on the list.
That's fair enough. Before we move on, I just want to give a big shout out to everyone that voted and participated in the ultimate USFL rankings. And it's not just our 7 members of the network. It's the entire community that really follows the league daily. So I just want to thank them.
Yeah, shout out to the USFL Newsroom, to SSN, which I believe stands for Sideline Sports Network.
Yep.
USFL News, great guy over there. And Ducky, got to give a shout out to Ducky. Thank you guys for giving your votes, for making this a culmination. So it's not just, each of us is going to rank our team that we represent higher. That's just biased. That's what it is. Those guys are a little less biased. USFL News covers the league. Ducky just trolls everybody. And USFL News has people that do everything. So I think it really helps balance it out and give a more true version. So thank you guys very much for doing that. I do enjoy that.
Definitely. All right. I'm getting hungry, man. It's time for Authority Burger.
Starving.
Fries with that? Would you like to upsize your meal?
Do you need any sauce? What kind of soft drink? Does that complete your order?
All right. So it's Authority Burger. Your topic. What did you want to bring to the table?
I wanted to do the South GMs. So Authority Burger, for people who are just tuning in for the first time, we are ranking the 4 South GMs in order and correlating them to parts of a burger, because there are parts of a burger that aren't as good as others. So we start with the meat, then we go to the add-ons. Everybody loves them. Some ketchup, some mustard, some bacon. Then, some bacon, lettuce, all that stuff, cheese. Then we go to condiments, ketchup, mustard, barbecue sauce. Then we got the buns, which is self-explanatory. So I'll let you start. Let's start from, I want the front. Who's your meat? Who's the meat and potatoes of the Southern GMs?
Zach Potter. It has to
be.
For a USFL GM. He drafted perfectly last year. They went 9-1 outside of losing to your Gamblers. He's got a championship, man. Like it's tough to argue against him right now. Even though he's got the championship, I think the race is close, and I actually had to think about it. It wasn't real easy just to be like, that's the guy. Which I think it's different in the North, but we can discuss it another time. But Zach Potter is definitely my number one right now.
That's your number one. This one, I'm going to be a full homer, and I just had him on my show. Coach Bob Morris, Coach Mo, I think he's done a great job. In the offseason, I think the free agents that he signed, it was diverse. He filled a lot of spots that we needed filling. He learned from season one. And my favorite part about it, this is the part that, you used in Ride or Die. Your die last week was MPT, 34-year-old quarterback. The thing I loved about Bob Morris's signings this offseason, they are all young. They are mostly unproven. He really leaned into what this league is about, getting young players who are hungry, who love the game of football, and want to go out there and put it all on the field for you. So because of that, I think he's my meat. I know he's my meat. Love him. So then we move on. Add-ons. We got the bacon. We got the lettuce. We got the cheese. What do you got?
Bob Morris, I think he's a proven talent evaluator. You just spoke very highly of him. I'm a big fan. The tiebreaker was the championship. So much talent on that defense. You figure Chris Odom would have been in the NFL. Donald Payne should have been last year. Dominic Davis, Will Likely, Abernath. Like, you could just list guys off the top of your head if you just watched a couple games. And he's proven and long career. And I think this year, even with the coaching changes and everything, I think you guys will be better than 3-7.
Yes. And one thing that really stands out with him, he's one of the more veteran GMs in the league. Not only did he have 16 years in the NFL, but he has also been in basically every spring league since XFL 1.0. So he does know the name of the game. He knows how to play it. So when some other GMs, not naming names, I don't even have a name in mind, might be playing checkers, he's playing chess. So that's why he's my number one. And I like that he's your number two. But then we move on. My number two, I'm going to go with Ryan Clark. I know I just talked trash about the MBT. I know I did. But I do like that he came in. We didn't see a lot of signings for the Breakers. We saw almost none because they were moving on from Fedora. They then moved GMs. He came in and he started signing people, and he started signing quality people. He went out, he got an HBCU, well-loved, proven college quarterback in Akil Glass. He's doing things right. I think it was probably DiFilippo who pushed him on the MBT. DiFilippo is a first-time head coach who wants to prove that he can do it in the NFL. I don't necessarily blame the GM that they got a 34-year-old quarterback or any of that stuff. So I do think he's doing a good job because he was thrown into not a great situation. He's the only new GM, and I think he's done a good job since he came in. So that's why I'm going to have him as my number two.
Fair enough. Number three, the condiments, the stuff that's necessary, obviously, but not the worst part of the
so you don't
burger.
have a dry burger.
Yeah.
There you go.
Dave Rosano, I think he's done a pretty good job at as the GM with the Bandits and now Showboats. Last year, going into the season, the Bandits were the heavy favorites, and it was because of the guys he was drafting with Todd Haley. It didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
It's they have a plan now. That quarterback battle is probably the best in the South and maybe in all the league with Willis, Kelly, and Brady White. And they've got they're hosting a hub. I know he's made late changes on the offensive line, but I just feel like Big Cat is on the team, and I've just became a fan of him since his signing. I just think this team, this team won't be in last place. But I'm
high bar.
No, but I'm saying like they were the team that was close to you guys jumping, right? I think both of your teams are not going to be in last place. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, for my condiments, make sure that you don't have a dry burger. Zach Potter, like you said, he won a championship. The hard part for me is that he is a very young guy. He's the youngest GM by far. A little bit unproven. Great for him that he got the championship, but I think a lot of that was also the fact that he had Skip Holtz as a head coach. Skip got a lot of pieces that are very important that he got that he had already coached from La Tech. So I think he had a leg up just for that fact. But then the fact that Reuben Foster came into the league and he's not on the Alabama team. That's a knock. But I don't think he did that much in the offseason. That's my biggest knock on it, is that I don't think the Stallions did a ton. They got some cool guys. They have a lot coming back, but there wasn't anything where you looked at it and you said, wow, and that's something that I really was looking for. You wanted the offseason to be exciting, and he was kind of quiet. The fact that Bob Morris is more active on Twitter than Zach Potter, and he's got how many years on him, says a lot. It's really weird. But I also heard, I was talking to Brandon Aubrey about it, and he said that Zach, he is the youngest and he knows it. And so he knows he's unproven and he's a little shy because of it. So I get that. But I don't know. I think he's still a little unproven. I think Skip Holtz, he just has Skip Holtz, and that's his wild card. So I think that was cool. But who is your last? I know who it is. It's Ryan Clark. Why is it Ryan Clark?
It's Ryan Clark because I just don't think they've impressed me since the new regime has come on. The law firm, you're calling them MBT, but the law firm coming in at 34 years old, I just don't. I think that's against the mission of the league. The league is
absolutely opposite of it.
And a lot of the signings just aren't wow me, guys. And what we knew about the Breakers last year with Bookmeyer is that they do have a solid core, and a lot of guys are coming back. I just don't think the pieces that are coming in, the new pieces, fit perfectly with the kind of team they had last year. So I think the styles are going to clash. So I could be proven wrong, because obviously I've been wrong before, but I just feel like it just doesn't seem kosher there, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And I do appreciate the fact that, I had him higher because I thought he came in and he did good work with his coming in, running, newest GM, came in late, new head coach with him. But then you looked at it in a different aspect. You looked at it as this guy didn't really do crazy stuff. While I do think that Davis Cheek and Akil Glass were good signings, I understand what you're saying, that there was some lackluster parts and that the chemistry doesn't seem to be there. That he started signing immediately for DeFilippo instead of signing for a mesh of what they had in DeFilippo. So I get that. Yeah. But my last guy is going to be Dave Rosano. And the reason I'm doing that, they didn't have great player retention, but the biggest reason is that they cut my man, Bruno Reagan. What? I just don't get it. You don't have a center. They don't have a center on the team. I don't know what that was. It didn't make a lot of sense. He was a fan favorite. He was great for the league. We lost him to the 3-letter now. I'm glad he's playing, though. I'm very glad he's playing. But I just don't get it. And their signings, it's a pivot from last season, from what they drafted. And it seems like they're going from, we want to do what the USFL wants, to now, when you look at their free agent signings, when I was going through the list, it's a lot more NFL talent. It's a lot more guys who already had their chance that aren't necessarily, they're a little against the grain for the USFL. I think Todd Haley didn't like losing last season. I think he wants to win, and I have him that low just because, one, he cut my man Bruno, and two, it seems a little against the grain for the league. So that's why I have him last.
Fair enough. So you had Bob, Ryan,
yep,
Zach, Dave. I had Zach, Bob, Dave, Ryan. So we like our burgers a little different. So
a little different.
At least you told the truth. Are you ready for 2 truths, no lies?
I am so ready for 2 truths and no lies. Let's do it.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
Man, you know what's funny? I just watched that movie this past week when I was out of town, and you had Buck on.
Which one are you talking about? Because the music in the background is Toy Story.
It's Toy Story, but I watched A Few Good Men. I watched the one where the lies part comes in. Fantastic movie. Fun fact, that movie is the #1 motivation that got my dad to be a JAG in the Navy. So that's a cool thing. But cool. 2 truths, no lies. What we are going to do, we are each going to ask each other questions, and the other person, 2 questions, so 2 truths. The other person has to answer absolutely honest. Online, we aren't necessarily always, I don't know, we play very nice. We aren't going to spin it real. We're going to spin it towards the league. We do love this league, and we want to make everything sound positive. But in this segment, when we ask the question, the other person is going to be honest and give what they actually think. So let's jump into it. Who's first?
You go first. Ace of Truth number 1.
Let's do
season. Go ahead.
Season 2 talent, better or worse than season 1 in your opinion?
It's better. It's I think the guys here, I think last year they went after a lot of guys that were in the NFL, had their chance in the NFL. This year, it seems like a lot of teams, I know for the Maulers and I know the Gamblers, guys that don't have a lot of NFL experience. I remember doing the first show ever on the USFL Network, the draft show, and we were talking about Kyle Sloter. And Kyle Sloter had participated in like 25 teams out of 32 in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Like the man had his chance. And I think this year, I think you have more pure talent and hungry guys, not guys that have been doing this for a long period of time. The average league age, I think, has gone down.
I think it's 26.
Yeah, I think last year it was like almost 26 and a half, almost 27. So it's gone down. And we signed Reuben Foster.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like that is a legit, like he dominated college football in the mid 2010s. Like he was a defensive force for multiple years on the best dynasty that we've ever seen in sports, at least in my generation, right? For the last 40 years. I also think the replacements for the guys that went to the 3-letter league have been terrific, and I'm not worried about the talent level in this league. And then the collegiate draft, hello, like it was great. If those guys ever end in the league, I just feel like it's grown, and the season 2 is going to be better than season 1.
I agree. I think you're right. The main thing to me is going to be the hunger. I reference him a lot, but Coach Bob talked about how last year there were a lot of players in this league who had done the rounds. They've been in the NFL. They've been in multiple spring leagues. Now we have a lot of players who have not. They either were victims of 2020 COVID no pro days, just a lot less exposure. And now I think that we have just pure raw talent. And I think we're going to see some players that are just going to go something's to the wall with it. And it's going to be wild. So I agree with you.
I think you hit the nail on the head here with the COVID, the player crunch, because the NFL couldn't take on all of the players that got the extra years of eligibility. So like their rosters didn't expand because of all the extra players that are coming out at the same time. While they were more lean a couple of years ago, now like there are a ton of talented players coming out of college that were there in 2020, and I think this league is going to reap the benefits.
Agreed, my man. All right, bring on your truth. What is your truth?
My truth. What is the league's biggest opportunity this year? And I'm not saying you have to tell me on the field, off the field, just in general. Your number one thing that you hope season 2 brings.
Number one thing I hope that season 2 brings is going to be exposure for the league and promotion. I think that when you see a successful season 1 like we had, you go to season 2, and I want to see them put a little more into it. I want to see the social media bump up, which it looks like they're going to do. They got some jobs out there. They're going to have 4 social media people instead of 1 because Alyssa was drowning. She did a great job, but that's a lot for one person. And now that we're in 4 cities, we have 4 hubs. I think that you can really do stuff in the community, which they showed a little bit in Birmingham, to get exposure, to get fans, and get people to the league. So I think that's their biggest opportunity is the expansion, the exposure, and getting more people in the USFL, like into it. That's the biggest opportunity is quarterback play for me. If the quarterback play just has to get better, I can tell you, watching the Maulers, need to complete more than 45%. As a Gambler fan, so bad.
As a Gambler fan, like how the struggle that was happening at the beginning of the season. And if you watch the other league right now that's taking place, The
It's so
quarterback,
bad.
the quarterback play is so bad, and I
It's so
think
bad.
the way that the league can elevate is the quarterback play. And I think it helps a lot that you've got guys like Kenji that are coming back for season 2. Jamar, I know he knows Skip Holt's system already, but he has that playbook already in hand. Love has been with Coach Marty. Cookus, obviously, right? And Johnson in New Jersey.
Yeah.
I just think that will elevate the league. Year 2 will help build this league a little bit more. So that's my biggest opportunity is just quarterback play.
That's a great point. That's a great point. And if I had thought about that, because I try not to think about what I'm going to answer. I want it to be first thing off the top of my head. I want it to be pure honesty. Yeah, it is primed to have better quarterback play. Like last season, it was a little slow getting started. You watching it, a season 1 of another league this season, and it's not good. No fault of their own, but primed to have good quarterback play week 1 in the USFL, which would be fantastic because the most people, most eyes on the exposure, it kind of brings in both of what we're talking about is week 1. You get all the exposure and then you have good quarterback play and it sets you apart and it just helps. It propels you into the season 3, season 4, more roster spots, all that stuff. Love it. Absolutely good. But I'm going to hit you with another truth. What is it? Let's do it. I gotcha. There we go. What matters more, in your opinion? TV viewership or fans in the stands at the games? This was a huge thing that people talked about last season. There were no fans for a lot of the games, but TV wasn't bad. What do you think is more important?
TV, like the whole bloodline of professional sports or sports in general is income, and you can gain more income from TV money, and especially when you're a TV company. So we're on, like USFL is owned by. There's no middleman. Like the other league has to pay or has to negotiate with the TV dealer, the TV release, the production company, basically.
I get you.
You are the production company. You're cutting out all those middleman costs. So your advertising hits more on the bottom line than if you and I go catch a game in Memphis and get a box of popcorn and a couple beers. That's not going to make the same money as a commercial for Nike, whatever you want to say. Yeah. You're going to make more money off of that. So TV numbers matter more.
A commercial with Boogie in it. But yeah. I agree with you. I agree, but I don't think it still downplays the fans. That's one thing I'm very, very excited for in season 2 is that it did feel a little weird. While I loved watching it and I thought there was great football last season, it's you want fans in the stands. It's an experience, right? Because people are going to talk more in the future when they're telling their grandkids the story about when they went to a USFL game. It's about being at the game. It's about that hot dog and the 2 beers that we got, which speaking of at week 1 in Memphis, I'm going to be there. So anybody being there, come say hi. If I'm not on the field, then I don't know how you will, but yell at me. But I think both are important, but I agree with you. It's probably TV. All right.
Well, I think the fans will matter more when all 8 teams are at home.
Yeah.
And you become franchises and you're not just a television company. It changes it when it becomes a franchise. And right now we're talking about year 3, 4, and 5. If you listen to Daryl Johnson and Jim Pop's interviews, they're talking about year 5. You know what I mean? They're talking about year 3 already. And we're not even in camp for year 2. So I think for the long haul, it's definitely TV.
Yeah, you're right. I just wanted to, give a little shout to the fans in the stands.
I would love to go to a game. Birmingham's only 5 hours away from me. Like, I would love to go to a game. But at the end of the day, for the league, it's TV.
All right. And what is your truth to me?
Oh, I don't have another truth. I'm light on truths this week. There's just not enough. I got to save some.
Sad. I was in a truthful mood, but we moved. Where did Webb go?
Beth is right here. Oh, shoot.
Awesome. Okay.
That's what happens when you have no truths. You have no truths. You get destructed from the internet god.
You get kicked off for not being a truther.
Yeah.
That was abrupt. You were gone.
Yeah.
And it made me big. It kind of freaked me out. That was funny. Okay.
All right, ride or die.
Ride or die. Let's do it. All right. Ride or die. This is the segment where we each pick one thing that we ride with for the week. One thing in the USFL this week that we loved. Then our die in ride or die. One thing that each of us did not like. So let's start. My first ride. Ticket prices. Ticket prices came out. Season tickets, single game tickets, different prices for each venue, which was interesting. I didn't necessarily expect that. It just wasn't in my mind because last season it was only one place and there was only one set of ticket prices. But they're cheap, dude. They are cheap. They are saying, hey, if you want to come, we want you there. We're not going to charge you an arm and a leg. Chris Odom put up some Super Bowl tickets, thousands of dollars. He was like, only serious offers. I said, hey, what's up? Thousands of dollars. I get it's a Super Bowl, but if you want to go watch some football, some professional football, you can spend $25 and go hang out in any of these stadiums and go watch a game. It's cheap. It's affordable. It gets people there. People who are just, visiting the town and weren't even thinking about it. They see it and they say, hey, how much is this? $25. They roll in. I love it. It's a win. It's a total W. Win for the league. Yeah, I put my gang sign. What's Saeed?
What's
that? All right. So
what do you think about the tickets? My ride. Reggie Corbin's tweet. So on this past weekend, I don't know how many people saw it. Corbin said, do we really have to talk about betting on every down or something similar to that? I love that our league will touch on the Fox bet, right? But it's not on the scoreboard. It's not on every interview. Like, I just appreciate it. And I thought Reggie's tweet was spot on because I was thinking the same exact thing. So while I was watching a game on the baseball field.
Cold-blooded. The one thing I disagree, I do like having the odds on the ticker on the bottom. I think that's cool. I don't like that it's shoved down your throat. I don't like that in a post-game interview. My man Donald Payne, they said, how do you feel that you won the money line? No, they won the game. You talk about it a little bit, but it's not every time there's a score you say, oh, how do you feel about the over? Oh, I think that if you bet the over, you feel fantastic. I think it's too much. It's too much. And a lot of people online were fighting against it. And they said, you're crazy if you don't think that the betting is the main part. I get it. It's important. It's not the only thing. There's so many interesting stories and so many cool players in this league that they could be talking about between plays that the color guy could be learning about, talking to between games. They're missing out on a big opportunity there. And one of the best parts of the league, probably the part of the league that has us doing this right now. We love hearing about the stories. We love talking to these players. And I think they're missing out.
Definitely. All right. Your die.
My die. The general misinformation out there. Man, I'm seeing some tweets that are coming out, some posts about things happening in the league, things coaches want, and it's false. There are people pushing false narratives. They might be trying to help certain people, and I just don't like it. I am a guy who doesn't like lying. I feel weird trying to tell a lie. That's why it's 2 truths and no lies, because I didn't want to do a lie. Tell the truth. We're reporters. Technically, we're, most of us not paid, but tell the truth. Come out and say, this is what's happening. If you oversign and you have 15 extra guys and you're about to have, an Armageddon and cut a bunch of free agents, admit it. Say it's your fault. I'll respect you more than trying to, people pushing narratives that it's the league's fault and this stuff. Just be honest. That's all I'm asking. I just want people to be honest. check your sources, that kind of stuff. If I accidentally post something or if someone in the network posts something that's not true, maybe we didn't know at the time. If we find out other information, we will correct it. We will take that tweet down and we will admit it. And that's what I love about us. And I love about a lot of the other people out there, but there are some people that are just not doing it.
I'm not going to say anything. Burn. That's it. All right. Moving on. Let's die.
Yeah. I'm laughing.
You said everything that I was thinking. We've always been, I can remember the first couple weeks that the network started. Yeah, we said that there was going to be a USFL tryout.
Oh, man.
The league actually got onto our case about it. And I remember typing up the apology letter to the USFL community. So I just get it right. It doesn't have to be a narrative. If you want to have an opinion, then get a show like USFL Authority. Then you can have your opinion. But if you're going to report it like it's news, then report the news. That's as simple as that. You can't mix the two. That's all I'm saying.
Be honest.
Be honest. All right, ready for my die?
Your die.
All right. I am sick and tired of comparing the USFL and the XFL. I'll even use the letters, and I typically don't. I am sick and tired of comparing the two and where you have to choose sides. First of all, the TV numbers drive me crazy that they come out every single week and they're comparing to 2022 April, week 2 of the USFL versus XFL week 2 in February numbers on different stations. And it drives me crazy. Like it does not matter, really. First of all, one's happening in February when half the country is
frozen.
It's pretty cold. I know I have 85 degrees today down here in Savannah, but a lot of the country it's cold. You're inside a lot more, so those numbers should be higher. Not in the middle of spring when you're competing with baseball and all that kind of stuff. Like I'm just saying, we don't need to compare these numbers, and if you're going to compare them, at least admit the truths. We'll go back to your general misinformation. just admit the truth that you're not comparing numbers that are really the same. Like you're not comparing things that are similar. But that's just me. And the fans choosing sides where you have to choose one side. I root for Donald Payne. Like I legit watched that league. I legit watched that league for guys that were in the USFL last year. But I started to learn other stories where I'm like, man, I wish this guy was in the USFL because it seems like a good story when they're not talking about betting. But go ahead.
Yeah, when they're not talking about betting. I totally agree. I don't like the choosing sides. I think the TV numbers are interesting. I like if they're good because spring football is good. It's good for the players. It's good for fans. And I don't like the choosing sides. My man Donald Payne is out there killing it for the Renegades right now. We have Sal Cannella also on the Renegades. There's a lot of players that I like, I've talked to and I support, and I don't want them to, fail. So I don't like the choosing sides either. I just don't talk about it. The USFL is my thing, but I'm not going to crap on other things because they're not. I don't get it.
Exactly. And like you said, all those USFL, like Payne was all USFL.
Mm-hmm.
Canelo was all USFL. Like
Reggie Northrup. He wasn't all USFL, but he's over there.
Slaughter is all USFL. He's on that team. Bellamy's out there. Tiamu's out there, who's the passing leader. Like
Bruno's moving over there.
Bruno's coming on. Well, why don't we just root for success for the guys? We don't have to compare the Rock versus the Moose. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That would be a cool arm wrestle, though. I want to know how much of the Rock is show muscle, because I've shaken Moose's hand, and that's real muscle. It's kind of scary, but I digress.
Talking about Moose, if you're watching this, I appreciate the like of the tweet. You made my entire week. You definitely did.
Made the graphic. I posted it too. I didn't get the like.
He did. It was my idea to put you at 48, but we both should get a like. So go back to Ace's tweet. I know he tagged in it, and like it.
Thank you. All right, last part of the show. We're taking turns each week. Last week was a hiatus. I was out of town, but we're taking turns blindsiding each other with a question that we have no idea what it is, and we see their reaction. What is your blindside this week?
What position group of the Houston Gamblers is the weakest?
Oh, oh man. Man, that's a hard question, actually. So comparatively to last year, obviously we don't have the Dominique Davis and we don't have the Chris Odom. So it's easy to say the defensive line, just because those were such large talents that they are both in the NFL still. And do we have guys of that caliber specifically at that position? Very unproven at this point. I don't know, and I don't feel comfortable saying so. So I would probably say defensive line or linebacker, because at linebacker we have 4 guys. They all barely have any NFL experience, just kind of camps, and they're completely unproven. So those are the 2 positions where it's just up in the air how they'll be. And those would be the ones I would say would be the weakest. But if they're watching this, I think you're phenomenal, and I can't wait to come and say what's up week 1.
I made him say it. I made him say it. You had to pick. I was not going to end the show until you picked one of them, and you could have took the easy way out and said kicker, and then just DM Vogel and be like, dude, I was only kidding. I just didn't want to talk about all the rest of them. I know you could take it. So
no, this is a true story, and my brother can say that it's true because I said it to him. And Nick Vogel, I told him that last week watching the 3-letter league, there were a lot of kicks that were short, that they would go out there and they'd kick a 50+ yarder and it would land in the end zone. And I looked at my brother Maverick and I said, I am so happy for Nick Vogel because he was nailing those. I told him when he came on our show, it was almost like the further back, the more accurate he was. It was crazy. So definitely not Nick Vogel, definitely not the punter Drew Galitz, Sick 'em Bears. But the most unproven, absolutely. Linebacker, we have 0 returners. All of them are gone either in the NFL or in the 3-letter league. Defensive line, we lost 2 of the best defensive linemen in the league last season. Do we have the best offensive line this season? I don't know. Probably not. So those would be the 2. They're easier answers, honestly, if you are looking at the roster.
Fair enough. Hopefully I didn't blind you too much, but
I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting that. I will give you that one.
Tell you the truth, before show, you told me like I'm doing the blind sign. I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even think of it. I actually wrote down a different question that came out of the blue. So you're welcome.
Well, maybe next week you can use that other question, and hopefully
in a couple weeks I'll use that question.
2 weeks. And hopefully I haven't hurt anybody's feelings. So that's cool. I don't know. Yeah. I know some defensive backs watch the show. I don't know about any linebackers and linemen. So we'll see.
Yeah. Fair enough.
All right. Well, that has been episode 4 of the USFL Authority, your best source of USFL news and the story behind it. Some insider information. Why are things happening? We're bringing it to you, and we're being honest about it. So check us out. Go to usflnetwork.com. Just got redone. Looks great. Has everybody's socials. For any team that you're covering, we have the social media to follow for you. And go to the USFL Network YouTube. We're posting new things every day. We're getting into shorts. A lot of cool things are coming out. Check us out. And until then, I've been Ace. He's been Webb. We'll see you next time.
All right.